This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight we're talking about two RJ, Jules Dassin films. That's right. Thieves Highway from 1949 and Night and the City from 1950. First up is that Highway. The tagline for this film.
Sure.
You need a friend, strong man, and I'm friendly.
Whoa. Is that a line in this fucking movie? I don't remember that.
You need a friend, strong man, and I'm friendly.
I mean, I kind of see it, but it's like, but why? Why? That's not great.
Well, that's not going to put asses in seats.
It's not ideal, my man, is what I'm trying to say.
You're saying you wouldn't be giving this movie picture a quarter?
I'd be giving it something, but not based on that tagline. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Synopsis here from Letterboxd.
Uh-huh.
Nick Garkos comes back from his tour of duty in World War II, planning to settle down with his girlfriend, Polly Faber. He learns, however, that his father was recently beaten and burglarized by mob-connected trucker Mike Figlia, and Nick resolves to get even. He partners with prostitute Rika, and together they go after Mike, all the while getting pulled further into the local crime underworld.
Wow, and this isn't even Italian.
Well, Nick Garkos. I'm not sure if that's I think it's Nico. It could be Greek, could be Italian, or our man here.
But what about Jules Dassin? He's French, right?
Well, he's American, RJ.
American by way of France?
I don't know. I used to assume that he was a Frenchman, but no. He's from the U.S. of A. And then he fled because he fled right when Night in the City was getting made because he was a goddamn accused communist.
Oh, it was that they didn't get him for like a Polanski deal or anything, right?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they always leave to France for some reason. I don't know.
Well, yeah. He went to London to make that movie.
Okay.
His last movie picture for the studio. But 20th
the
Century
funny
Fox.
Shit?
Zanuck gave to him. Xanadu.
Oh, cool.
So Richard Conte, you know this guy?
Is he in Thieves Highway?
Yeah, is
he the lead?
He's the lead.
So that is Nick.
Yeah.
Right? I do not know Richard Conte. But maybe you could tell me about him.
He's in movie pictures.
Like Coppola pictures or like
as a matter of fact, RJ, he is in The Godfather.
Wow. Do you have any like Jesus centric pictures that he might be in as well? Because I know those ones better.
Let's see if I've got one for you. Everybody probably was in a Jesus movie at some point or another.
What about one from Shane?
Well, he was in Slaves of Babylon. He was in Benghazi. I can't believe that.
Oof. Well, Laserdisc alumni George Stevens, who also directed Shane, which I know is a favorite of yours.
Oh, look at that! Hey, look at that, RJ.
Story ever told.
Yeah, Barabbas,
Taurus, Bulba. Remember that one, Jarrett?
See, if you're an actor in the 50s, you were probably in a Jesus movie.
I know. That's all I care about. I don't care about this Godfather stuff. I don't even know what that is. Get out of here with that.
You know about The Sopranos.
I do, but that's about gabagool. That's not about like gangsterism. That's just about cured meats.
So Nico comes home, sees his pops, sees his ma, sees his girl. He's got him gifts from his travels abroad. He was out in on a boat working, making some money. He's got a big stack that he throws onto the table, and they go, "Oh!" And he's like, "Dad, I got you a brand new pair of shoes, Mandarin." And everyone gets all long faced. Oh God! And then he's like, "Why? And then his dad wheels out from his wheelchair, and I guess the implication is he's got no feet. No legs. It's hard to say. Like we don't see any stumps, but
I didn't look what these movies were about before I watched them because obviously, but this was like the most comical, like on the nose reveal I've seen in a while. It's like, Pops, I got you these little moccasins from China. They're beautiful. They're little slippers. They're gonna make your feet feel fantastic. And he's like, let me put them on your feet. And the family's, they're all kind of pulling their collars a little bit. They're like, Nick, we gotta tell you something, buddy. And he's like, what? Let me put the shoes on a papa's feet. And he just kind of slowly wheels back, and he's like,
But now we find out the next step. As it turns out that maybe this is the basis for the Charles Bronson classic Mr. Majestic, about films that are about supply chains and about produce and the criminal underworld of California.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. And I'm not going to play my hand too soon here, but I have long said that Criterion Collection specifically needs more chain of supply produce movies. I've said this forever, and I'm going to continue to say this. So that was a welcome surprise that I wasn't aware of.
So what happened to his dad, RJ?
Well, they took his legs,
or
his feet, or he was driving.
Well, so he's got some tomatoes. He had them for sale. He put them on consignment with this guy played by Lee J. Cobb. He's always a great piece of shit. One of the great piece of shit actors in cinema. Mike Figlia, who runs produce back in was it San Francisco or Fresno?
It's somewhere along there.
I don't know. I don't know my Californias. It's a big place.
Well, if only we had a film noir enthusiast that also lived in California who could have guessed it on this episode, we probably could have figured it out.
Yeah,
if only.
If only.
No. Well, too bad.
So, this guy who's owed some money because he sold his tomatoes, and he's like, "Hey, you got paid." He's like, "Oh, hey, let's go for dinner. Let's have some drinks. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have some laughs, and then we'll pay it. Don't you worry. We'll give you money." But then he gets so drunk, he wakes up and he finds himself in a wrecked car, and he's got to lose his legs. And of course, the claim is that Mike Figlia, I paid you. I paid you. I don't know what happened to the money after you left. I mean, you just got up and drove away.
He was never seen again.
Yeah. And, you lost your legs. That's unfortunate. So anyway, his Nico, though, he's not having any of this shit. He's like, he's like always just leaping to, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah. So I'm going to go kill that piece of shit.
Or there's a lot of or else. And like, I'm going to do something real bad. You're like, huh. So this is like a war vet. So I'm not sure if this falls into my subgenres of vetsploitation or not. I don't think they lean into it's a little bit. He's an angry man seeking revenge for his father's being cheated out of his tomato money. So he's got a big fat stack. He's going to take care of his girl, who's not very impressed with his initial gift, but then it turns out to be a ring, and now she's like, oh yes, I love this. She's a conventional girl, you see. Blonde bombshell.
Oh,
but
interesting.
Anyway, so he's got $1,600. He's going to buy into her father's business, and they're going to settle down, live a nice square life. So, but Nick goes into business with Ed. Ed Kinney, who bought the family truck that would have carried the tomatoes because Dad won't be needing that truck no more.
He's got no legs, dude.
But Ed's got an offer. It's like, hey, I got some sweet apples. You want in on this action? Because part of this whole the high stakes world of produce is you got to pay for the product up front, and you got to deliver. Then you got to take your product and you got to drive it out to the guy who's going to sell it to you, and you got to make sure you don't get screwed over by him. So they're buying their apples. They're golden delicious apples. So
when you buy apples, Jarrett, what brand do you go to usually?
What type of apple?
Yeah, what genre?
I
actually
species of apple? I like the Granny Smiths.
You're Granny Smith, man.
Yeah.
Interesting. Those are. Do you like them a little sour or? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a Honeycrisp guy myself.
Of course you are. Look at you.
They're the baking apple, Jarrett. One of the sweetest apples.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Just like you.
Some people have described me as a baking podcaster.
Well, or it's like a baking person. You're a person that one would bake.
I've been known to bake from time to time. Yep.
So they go into business. But, of course, Ed, he's already kind of made a bit of a deal with a couple of other guys. These two dudes who, like, I don't know what their names are exactly.
Skippy and Slippery Pete.
Pete and, is it Slob? Jack Oakey?
I think it's something like that. Yeah.
Jack Oakey and Joseph Pevney. Slob and Pete. I like these guys. I like the cut of these guys as jibs. They're kind of there for comedic relief. They're like not the most menacing of goons. They seem to be like mostly good-hearted scumbags, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say for the most part.
Yeah, because they're like, there's something definitely unsavory about them. And, of course, Ed sells them something. Oh, yeah, like the Apple guy, he won't sell them to me anymore. Sorry, the deal's over. And they're like, something about that seems off to me. A lot of that. If you're into that, this is a movie for you. So, Nick and
Garfield, did you say?
Garfield. Nick and Ed head off. They pick up the apples from the German, I think. The German man who's afraid he's going to get ripped off. Because, goddamn Ed, he's kind of a scumbag, too. He's kind of like short them $300 because it's like, well, we agreed at $1,200. But he's like, I'm going to pay 60 bits on per case. And it's like, well, that's $300 short on how many there is. There's a bit of a kerfuffle. Apples start getting pulled off the truck. But deals are finally made. There's also some problems with the trucks. Now that's a big problem when you're trying to move apples. You gotta make sure you gotta be able to get the apples to market.
Well, Jared, we got plenty of produce, plenty of apples. We got to make sure that they're stocked at all times.
That's right.
In Wayne's World,
you gotta keep them covered. If the sun hits them, they're gonna be roasted. You're not gonna have any apples.
Yeah. You're gonna get too pulpy. They're gonna dry out. It's gonna be a shit product.
No one wants a rotten apple.
I wouldn't even pay for what is it? Flicks for it? What is the thing that he pays? Like
he pays 6 bits. Or sorry, he tries to, but I think he winds up paying 75 bits.
Yeah.
Per case of apples.
The road apples are 4 bits.
Yeah.
That's what he sells for.
4
bits.
There you go.
Road apples. Yeah.
Bits. And that's for an apple, not for a case even.
It's just an apple, man.
What are you talking about? So,
it's just an apple.
There is a scene because what happens is now they have to try to get them out, and they got 2 trucks loaded up. One's having some mechanical problems. Slob and Pete kind of roll up on them, and what is all the happenings here? And then so they're kind of making some plans, some schemes, they're waiting for an opportunity. So Nick kind of goes up ahead. He's making good time. What is it? 36 hours, I think.
Give or take an hour or two.
Yeah. So Nick makes some good time. But he blows a tire. He has to deal with that tire. We get this scene that I found like really effective of him changing a tire, and then the jack goes and he gets pinned under the truck, and it's on this sandy bank, and he kind of goes face first into it. And I was just like, oh, like that's like one of my, like, I don't know. That's one of those things I've thought about. You're like, man, what a way to go. And like you're be on a highway, all these cars are passing you by, and they'd have no idea you're suffocating. Pretty.
I thought the truck driving scene, and then it's like him underneath with the jack. I think that's one of the highest tension scenes we've had in a while on a Criterion. Because I was just like, I wouldn't describe myself as claustrophobic, but like that thing made me feel claustrophobic.
Yep.
I was like, because like, and like I've worked with jacks before too, and like jacks always make me a little bit nervous because it's like, because of this exact thing. It's like, yeah, he's under there and it just fucking gives out, fucking buckles, and then he's just trapped under like a 5-ton truck. Just like, ooh.
Well, yeah, like you think that like he'd be a little bit more messed up, and he is messed up to a degree. Like, but they don't.
It's more implied than anything else.
Yeah, because Ed rolls up on him. He's like, "What are you doing down there?" He's like, "Oh, you're in trouble. Get your face out of the sand, Nick. Get your face out of the sand." Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the other thing too is like because they didn't have like flashlights and they were like kind of like the hazard signs or whatever. So he's like got like this like kerosene can that he has to light up and put on the road. And you're like, That seems safe. Like I'm sure there's a reason why we moved away from that, but these are the choices that we had in olden times.
It was the best thing that worked at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Jer?
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
I think for the most part.
So Nick gets back on the road. He's a little rough for shape. He makes time. He gets to San Fran, and he gets to the market. It's a bustling scene. He parks his truck, and he was looking for Mike Figlia.
Figlia.
Because this guy, yeah, he's looking for some, payback, just a little bit, and ask some questions. Ultimately, get to the truth of things. So we meet Figlia and his goons and hatchets and tires getting mashed up, and hey, you've got all the oldest tricks in the book in the Apple game, RJ. Let me tell you.
Which ones?
The ones where you show up with your cart of apples, and the guy like smashes up your cart and goes, "Oh, look at that! The apples, they're just all over the place. No one's going to pay anything for them. I mean, I could hardly pay you for anything either. What hard luck that is."
Says, I don't know what to tell you. It's the craziest thing I ever saw.
Craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Can't believe it.
1 in a million shot, Jarrett.
Well, I mean, the best I could do. I mean, I'm a little strapped for cash. No one's buying apples.
He's like, it's not the right season for apples. Apples come later.
Yeah,
it's not apple time right now.
That's right. Friend. He's like, hey, tell what you go for a break, and we'll figure this out. You wait for because he's like, well, he's going to give him a price. He's basically going to pay him exactly what he paid for the apples. And he's like,
yeah.
I guess, like, is it just for the one truckload? He's like, well, I'm waiting for my partner. He's got apples too. And he's like, oh, I want to pay this guy cost. I don't want to be paying nothing beyond that. He's like, well, don't you take a break and we'll wait for your partner to show up. And of course, that's like kind of the B plot of where's Ed? What's Ed doing? Ed's not having a good time. Ed's having breaking downs. He has to team up with Slob and Pete to get things going. He's going to have to cut them in on the action to get things done. Things just wind up not ending well for Ed, though. He never makes it.
He tries his best, right, Jarrett?
He does. He's kind of like, you feel ambivalent toward Ed. I mean, he saves Nick's life, sure. But at the same time, this guy would slit your throat to save a couple nickels.
He will. I mean, he doesn't want to spend a dime, but he will buy some apples.
It was San Francisco.
Well, I mean, I knew that.
Of course.
I said that the whole time. Yeah. I don't know why you didn't say that, but.
So we get introduced to Rika, a woman that is weirdly very interested in Nick, and saddles up with him, asking for a light, and wants to be his best friend. Saying, hey, no funny stuff. You look tired. You should come back to my place and just sleep. That's okay. We don't have to do anything. He's like, okay, ma'am.
Okay.
I'll take your word for it. This isn't fine. So they head back up there, but it turns out she is part of the game that Figlia is running.
The Figlia game?
Yeah, because he's got this giant truck he wants to get out of the way, and all these apples, and doesn't want to pay for them, which of course he solves by just starting to sell them.
Yeah.
Because you have to.
I mean, what else would you do?
You've got to unload the truck, and don't unload them all. Put them aside. You start selling the product, selling them for like whatever $6 a case. Hell of a markup.
6 bits. Man.
Rika, of course, is very worried by this neck wound and bleeding from the back of Nick's head. Goes and tells Figlia about it. He kind of gets cleaned up. He seems to be doing better. He makes some phone calls back to Polly. Remember Polly, his girl?
Polly D?
It's like, I'm going to hit it big. I've got money. You should come on down here. We can get married. But he's like, I don't really want to know if I really want to get married. Very non-committal. Doesn't feel too solid about this. Something feels a little off.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me?
I smell you.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you mean. I definitely smell you.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Good.
If that,
good.
like you know what I mean. I smell you as a person. In a sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it seems like Nick and Rika they they seem to have a little bit more in common than
I mean,
Nick and Polly.
they do, but Nick's also kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
In a sense.
It was 1949.
Yeah. He also, if they remade this movie now, I'm pretty sure Nick would be played by John Bernthal. You know the Punisher, Jarrett? You remember the Punisher?
I see.
Yeah, I think that's who fits in well with that guy. But
right.
Yeah, no, it plays in that time. Andrea watched the second movie with me, and the comment was a lot of men grabbing women,
Oh yeah,
and just like shaking them a little bit. And I was like, oh man, you should have saw the first movie. There's a lot of women grabbing in that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just,
but there's no like Phil just grabbing away. Then you find out they're like married essentially, and you're like, well, that's not really nice either. But
yeah, I meant more like not even
there's a relationship that exists of some sort.
Well, there's a bond of some kind,
rather than
but not
straight
not
up
even
Weinsteining.
Yeah, it didn't like some of the grabbing here wasn't even sexual. It was mostly just like grabbing the shoulders and shaking them, where it's just like listen here, woman.
Oh yeah,
Intensity.
So yeah, this is a tale of high stakes of the Apple trade, and we get a movie that really ends with Nick beating the shit out of Mike in a bar full of goons. The cops show up and are like, well, that's okay, I guess. Very Chief Wiggum-esque. And a guy gets a girl, and apples are eaten. So I'm a fan, RJ, of Thieves Highway.
Okay.
I think it's a lot of fun. A nice little piece of noir. It's been a while since I've seen a really good one. I thought this one was actually very successful. Just like such a weirdly unique, like in specific niche of like, oh yeah, this is about apples. I'm like, this is a break in the Criterion slog of this. Like, it's a genre movie, so it's kind of nice. It's one of the things that I think everyone appreciates with the Criterion Collection is those breaks from the pretense, if you will, of the collection. And this is like, yeah, this is just like a really well made 1949 crime movie with like some pulse pounding, good performances. Like you said, one of like the more actually tense scenes in a movie that we've seen in a very long time. And I think fun for the whole weird family of fedora wearers and smoking enthusiasts.
Fun? I thought you were no fun Duncan.
Some say that.
What do you mean some? I thought that was just established.
Oh, I don't know.
For the most part. So you like this film?
I did.
It's good?
Mm-hmm.
It's good? It's nice? That's all I got.
Are you going to, or would you take this highway?
Oh, I didn't watch this movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I thought this movie was real good.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it quite a bit. And I wasn't even joking. It's like, I do think we need more produce or like chain of supply movies in the Criterion. I think this, I know that's not the whole point of this thing, but I actually really liked seeing the fruit market, the produce market. I was like, this is the movie I want to watch.
This is what I've always wanted and didn't realize.
This is what I've wanted. Yeah, it's like I want to see these fucking fruit vendors and like dudes just like the scummy side of the produce world where it's like Figlia, that dude's no good.
Yeah.
It's like I'm an honest fruit man. And it's like I can't afford these apples. These apples is high class, but you don't want to go to Figlia. That dude's no good. I was loving that. I was like, oh yeah. And the whole build up to that, like the truck scene, even them just driving the truck, like he's hammering it down, right, to get there. I really like that because I was like, it was setting like a really high pace where it's just like you could feel the intensity to it. You get the scene out of nowhere where a truck fucking falls on the guy, and you're just like, whoa, like this is like tense. This is scary. So I liked that. I liked the build up. I liked the fruit vendor stuff. And then like you have scenes with like trucks like fucking going off cliffs, blowing up, and just people are just like, he melted. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Oh yeah, he's real dead.
He's dead. 100% that guy is dead. And you're just like, shit. You're like, that's fucking gnarly. I also like the intensity that like, so I do think Nick is an asshole. He's kind of a prick, but I like how I really liked in the confrontation with Figlia in the bar afterwards, where Figlia like somehow like kind of kicks a hatchet up into his hands to defend himself. Cause like when you see it under table, you're like, oh shit, Figlia's got a hatchet. And then he pulls it up, and then Nick is grabbing it. He's like, I'm gonna cut off your goddamn hands. And you're like, you're watching, you're like, is that gonna happen? You're like, is that what kind of movie this is? Because like so far, like trucks were falling on people, people were blowing up, and I was like, they might cut this dude's hands off. Like, when did Code come in? Like in the 40s, 50s,
like 1933.
Okay, I was a little off on that.
A little bit, but violence is starting to come back.
But it's coming back.
We get a hatcheted hand.
We do get a hatcheted hand. He's like, you busted my hand. He's like, you're crazy. So I liked all that. Yeah, I was surprised by this movie because I did see that they were like noirs, and I was like, well, that sounds cool. Like they don't. I like this Jules Dassin. I was like, he should be all right. Rafifi was good stuff. But watching this one, I didn't look too much into what it was about, and then all the fruit stuff, I was like, man, I'm liking this fruit stuff. So yeah, like I was surprised. I thought this movie was really good actually, and then the only thing that stands out to me, which is strange, is like so like Nick gets his neck crushed and like the wind taken out of him, and so there's this big thing about how like water is waking him up. It happens 3 times in this movie. So the first time is by Ed, who splashes some water on him and he wakes up a little bit. Second time he just sees some dude watering his turnips and he's like, can I get some of that? And he like splashes himself a little bit
and drizzles his sweaty face all over the produce
all
they're
over
washing
the
off.
Yeah. And that guy's just like, he like puts his hands up. He's like, "You seen this shit?" He's like, "I thought you were gonna drink it, like not." It was
1949, you know,
different world.
Yeah.
But then it happens a third time, and this is the most troubling of the 3 water occurrences. So he takes a shower, and I don't know if you noticed, Jarrett, but he showers with his pants on.
I did not notice this.
It is at 51 minutes. If anyone is curious.
Well, how do you know that Richard Conte wasn't a never nude?
He could have been.
Like you.
Maybe he was the first never nude. He could have started it with Tobias Funke. But because he's talking and he comes out, and I even got a screenshot of him in the shower with his pants and him coming out. Because he's like, cold water or like a shower always makes me feel better. He's in the shower and he's wearing his pants. And they don't even try to hide it. Like, they don't try to like show only his top half to like make you think he's naked, but he actually has pants on. They show him in the shower with his pants on. And I was like, this is the only blemish on this otherwise.
Well, because he's trying to be, wasn't he trying to be like decent though? Because he knows what happens if he takes the pants off.
I mean, yes, but at the same time, what is he gonna do walking around with fucking wet ass pants for the rest of like the week?
It's the principle of the thing.
I'm aware of why he did it.
I feel like this is like actually something you would do.
Shower with your pants on?
Yeah.
Depends on the company.
Well, exactly.
It depends on the company.
And it depended on the company. In the privacy of Nick's own home, he'd be doffing those pants.
Yeah. I'm not trying to belittle what he did. I just want to draw attention to it so it's known. Because clearly you didn't even see that it happened. And I want people to be aware of this. That's all. But yeah, Thieves Highway was good. A surprise. Nice little flick. I think it is on YouTube. That's not where I watched it, but I do believe it is on YouTube. It might have like Russian subtitles burnt into it, but you know, that's the name of the game, right?
That's right. Because Criterion Channel once again fails.
Well, and it's like these are things that should be just like prime for the Criterion Channel. It's like, this is something that needs to be on there, but it's not. Like,
stupid rights, and however they decide to rotate their produce.
Ugh.
They want to keep those apples fresh, RJ.
Ugh.
So, Night and the City.
Oh yeah, there's a second film. Yep.
Now, the tagline for this film.
Uh-huh.
The inside story of London after dark.
What is it?
I don't know.
I mean,
It's about wrestling.
that's half true.
It's about the Graps game.
Big grappling. Is Shane O'Mac in this one?
No, this this would be like more like the territory of like Big Daddy. You know about Big Daddy?
I've heard of other Big Daddies.
Yeah,
But not
that,
necessarily this one.
Oh yeah, you should look him up.
Okay.
Britain's Big Daddy.
Is he gregarious?
No, he's not.
Okay.
He's a big boy.
Okay.
Londoner Harry Fabian is a second-rate con man looking for an angle. Is he a Londoner in sense, or is he because he lives in London? I suppose if the longer you live, like what defines one as being from London?
There is literally a line in this that draws attention to the fact that he is an American.
Yeah, well, yeah, because that's
living
the whole,
in London.
because he's talking up the Americans as an American, as an expat type.
Yeah, so like that's not entirely accurate.
Yeah, I mean, other than I guess it mentions that. Yeah, it's a strange choice to call him a Londoner rather than saying he is in London. Harry Fabian is a second-rate con man looking for an angle. After years of putting up with Harry's schemes, his girlfriend Mary becomes fed up when he taps her for yet another loan. His latest ploy, promoting an aging Greek wrestler, goes awry when the wrestler dies and everyone points the finger at Harry. Man, that's a big skip.
I mean, by the time that happens, that's what, the last 10 minutes of the movie?
Mm-hmm. Hiding out in a riverfront barge, Harry sees his grand ambition spiral into a nightmare of fear and desperation as the underworld closes in.
Yeah. But again, like, it just gives you the setup, and then it jumps right to the end. Like, there's some stuff that happens in the middle there.
A couple things, perhaps.
Yeah, there's a few things.
So this movie's got it all, RJ.
In the sense,
well, it's got a club called the Silver Fox.
Yes, you know, Creepsville used to have a club called the Silver Fox. Did you know that?
I did know that, RJ.
You know, it was a gentleman's club.
A gentleman's club
is what they say.
So this movie opens up with Harry Fabian. And it closes on this as well, of Harry Fabian running away from somebody or something, or someone he's pissed off, or someone he owes money to. This is Richard Widmark, who you should remember from Pickup on South Street.
I do. That was a good movie.
Yeah.
If only there was a Richard Widmark expert that could have been here tonight. But
a fan of that movie and noirs in general.
Yeah. Or just someone that was like an enthusiast of some kind, but
a real fan.
A real fan. Only fan.
Only fans.
Yeah.
So Richard Widmark, he runs up to an apartment building. He's like kind of sneaking about, and then he starts digging through a woman's purse. This woman comes out and goes, "You need more money?" He's like, "What are you doing spying on me?" "Oh, I was just looking for cigarettes."
Yes, this isn't where I parked my car.
And it's like, she's like, yeah, right over here, dude. He's like, certainly.
Oh, certainly. And then he crochets away.
Yeah, Harry is every kind of like lousy bum that you've ever met in a movie.
Yeah, and he fills the role well.
He does. Yeah, he's he's quite the garbage man in this.
Garbage man.
So she works at the Silver Fox. She is a dancer.
Yeah, she's like
not a dancer. She's like
an enthusiast woman. Like, she goes around and just kind of pumps up the guys. It's like, have a drink.
Yeah,
honey.
What's the word for that? Like in Japan, in like the one district they have, it's like companions.
Like a geisha?
No.
Like Memoirs of a Geisha?
No.
With Tom Cruise?
Not that. In Roppongi, there's like these clubs. It's like where the Japanese men go, and then it's like Caucasian girls. And then they talk. They're supposed to just talk. But they're there to sell you really expensive drinks.
Bordello of Blood? The Tales from the Crypt movie?
Dennis Miller?
Yeah. Are you going to watch that next year?
Never.
Why not?
This is terrible. So, we get introduced to these two, and then she goes to her other apartment in this building, this loft. I don't understand the structure of these buildings, but she's kind of coming and going, and then she meets like the ceramicist, Adam the ceramicist, who is having some real troubles making spaghetti, which I just want to say, spaghetti is not difficult to make.
So when he was like when it was like burning off and shit, I had some ideas of what he was cooking. The last one would have been spaghetti.
Yeah.
Because he's like, this is what always happens when I make spaghetti. And I was like, spaghetti? I was like, what?
Well, there's a pot of boiling water.
And I mean, you could have the sauce in the pot and that could burn. But at the same time, it's like, are you that bad?
Maybe this is like 1950 spaghetti. It's a very different thing.
Like spaghetti?
No, that's a different thing on top of that.
Oh, okay.
Maybe like SpaghettiOs.
Oh, have you had any of the like SpaghettiO, Chef Boyardee type stuff lately?
No.
In the last several years?
Maybe I have, and it was not very good.
I'm tempted, but I feel like it would be bad.
I think it would be pretty bad.
Yeah, okay.
You have taste buds now.
Well, allegedly.
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 So yeah, Adam is a ceramicist, and I guess like him and the girl are now dating.
He's kind of like doubling down.
Yeah, they're kind of, well, she's doubling down. And he's just kind of like, well, she's got this weird relationship with this like ex-con guy, and I mean, I guess like I don't know, it's kind of vague to me. In the description, they could call her Mary's his girlfriend, but
well, the way I read it, or the way I was looking at it, was like she wants to be with him, and he's like there to use her, like the con man.
Yes,
but he also has a side girl that he uses as well. So they both kind of want to be with him. Ceramics guy wants to be with the good lady, but she's into the bad boys, not the good boys. Right? Yes,
and bad boys into whoever will get him what he wants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not about the sexuality game. He's about the profit game.
That's right.
He's a Ferengi.
Yeah, he is the OG Ferengi.
Yeah,
a real quirk.
Yeah.
So we learn about the chocolate hustle.
Yes.
Where the girls are being instructed by like, I don't know, the madam of the house of how like you all do this, and it's like it'll be like whatever, £5 for chocolate. That seems like a lot of money for chocolate.
An awful lot of money for chocolate.
And they're like, we'll pay you $2 for the chocolate. And you're like, oh, I understand now. And it's like, you don't steal, don't take money from them, don't steal from them. If you do it, it's on your own time. Mm-hmm. It's a big wink.
And then it goes,
giddy up. We get introduced to Phil. Do you remember Phil, the actor who plays Phil? Remember him from like those David Lean, Charles Dickens films? He's in both Oliver Twist and Great Expectations. I like to call them dick pics.
Oh, no, I'm not familiar with your dick pics, but I'm interested.
David Lean's actually, not mine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I recognize him. I wasn't sure, but there was a guy I knew in high school we called Fat Phil. His name was Phil, but he wasn't fat.
But what is he, like Philadelphia Collins?
No, he was a normal guy. We just called him Fat Phil because we were kids.
Uncle,
it's funny.
Not Uncle Phil?
No.
Uncle Phil was fat.
He was, but he seemed like a nice guy.
And he was Shredder.
Yes, he was. But he seemed like a nice guy, even as Shredder.
So Phil calls people, dear boy. And poor boy.
Mm-hmm.
Love that, Phil.
And he's always kind of...
And, we get a little bit of Weinsteining, as I called it in my notes.
A little bit.
But then it's like, I apparently him and, like, the lady of the house who runs this club, they're in a relationship. But it's like very rocky. But she's also into another kind of bad boy, into the younger bad boy, the not Phil kind, into Harry.
Yeah, who's not into Harry? One of the wet bandits, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The only Harry I know. Mm-hmm. So we kind of have like a brief little showcase of Harry moving around clubs. He's got his hustle down where he kind of lays tracks with like potential marks.
Yeah. He's always got his hands in something.
Yeah,
He's
he has this
trying
thing
to
where
do something.
he's got like a wallet that he drops to build trust. He gives you his trust, and you're like, oh, I found this wallet. Does this belong to any of you guys? Oh no, oh jeez. And he gives it to Major D, being like, I'm an honest person. That's the introduction to it, and you get this information down, getting names, info, because you get these tips, and he meets some American guys that it doesn't really go anywhere in the movie, correct? The guys he initially meets, he talks about like, I met these guys in the bathroom. He's like, oh, we know the same guy.
No, I'd say the first three, like, and I wouldn't even call him grifts because he's not like actually a con man. He's just like trying to like whatever. But the first three like examples that you see him doing it, like they don't really turn into anything else. Not
Right.
really.
Because you're always struggling. You're always trying to find it, but sometimes
Yeah.
it's hard to get that whale. So he goes to the wrestling matches, and he tries to pull his hustle there, but one of the security guys is like, get out of here. We don't want you running your game in here. Not in our reputable place where it's bullshit carny stuff. And of course, at this point, Gregorius starts talking about circus bullshit and filth. And you're like, who's this guy? What's he all about? And he's like, and you meet his son, who you don't really know who is his son. He's just a guy who's like, Papa, what are you so offended by? Because they weren't sitting together. And you're just like, oh, you don't think anything of it, who this chap is. But then, of course, Harry sees like, oh, I can get an angle with this guy because it seems like people know who this is. I have no clue, but they say he's Gregorius, a world famous wrestler. So he exits out the doors, comes back in the front entrance, and goes up to the ticket holder, and he's like, I demand a refund. You call this wrestling, to kind of win the heart of Gregorius, who Gregorius notices and goes, aha, yes. he knows this like crap going on in the ring's not real. It's all about Greco-Roman style wrestling, shoot fighting.
A man of integrity who only like a Greco-Roman wrestler.
Don't we all prefer that?
I had a teacher in high school who always talked about Greco-Roman wrestling, and I never knew what it was, but I always just assumed it was real oily. I was like, is that just like...
Correct.
Yeah, I was like, is that just normal wrestling, but everyone's oiled up and I guess trying to grapple each other? No. Is that all it is? Like,
I don't know if... Sorry, I was going to say, so do you know Stanislaus Zabisco?
The name is
Stanislaus Zabisco.
The name's familiar.
So that is the guy. That is Gregorius, who was a actual pro wrestler.
Yep. So Andrea, when we were watching, she looked it up. He was a real wrestler. Nicholas was a real wrestler, and the Strangler was a real wrestler as well. And even that real.
Oh well, yeah, because the Strangler.
They're like almost all wrestlers.
That's Mike Mazurki.
Who's Mike Mazurki?
A wrestler.
I don't know him, but I do know that most
Nicholas
of them are real
of
wrestlers.
Athens. Yeah, they're all instead of Italians, we got a lot of Greeks going on here.
Yeah, big Greeks. Greek is proto-Italian.
Oh, that's interesting. So the guy who plays Nicholas, the Atlas, whatever his name is, of Athens. He is the guy. I don't know if you remember or watched a lot of rank organization films, but he's the guy swinging. Maybe you'll notice this in watching the Powell and Pressburger movies, like Black Narcissus, Red Shoes. There's like a thing for it's like the opening credit thing where it's like the title insert for it's like rank organization, and there's a big jacked guy who's swinging a mallet onto a gong. That's the guy.
Oh, I do know the gong guy. I didn't realize that was Nicholas.
I didn't either till just this very moment.
Huh. What a neat little piece of Criterion history.
All coming together.
Wow. Big stuff. Big things. Yeah. That is cool though. I had no idea. Interesting.
So Mike Mazurki, the Strangler, he co-founded and became the first president of the Cauliflower Alley Club. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It's basically an association for pro wrestlers.
I do not know.
It's basically like every year they get together and they just kind of like celebrate one another. It's
a beautiful partnership.
Yeah. Cauliflower Alley, folks. The logo of it is his own, the Strangler's cauliflower ear.
That's yeah, okay.
Yeah, lots of weird.
That took a second to digest. I was like, huh? Okay.
Yeah. So Harry's got an idea. Harry is he's going to get into the wrestling game. He's like, I see an opening here. I could use Gregorius. He's a name. And he believes in this Nick guy. I can get the money together. I can start running some matches. Everyone loves people like shows. They like matches. And there's going to be a couple bucks in this. However, people are warning him, hey, nobody does wrestling in London without Christo. And you're like, who the fuck's Christo? Who's this Christo guy?
Yeah, Gregorius, not Christo.
Yeah, what's this Christo about? Is this the Vince McMahon of the UK? Is that what I'm hearing about? So there's all these signs like, hey, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. This is Christo's territory. But he's like, nah, I got it all figured out. And he wins over the trust of him. He's getting money here and there. He's hitting up Phil and Phil's lady, getting $200, and then Phil's going to give him his money. And of course, Phil doesn't realize that this is going to, like, what the problems with this potentially are going to be. But at the same time, he doesn't like Harry. Phil's kind of like, basically, Phil is going to set Harry up to fail. And then by fail, I mean by having him get killed by Harry's own stupid acts, because Christo is just that dangerous. And then we find out that Christo is, in fact, the son of Gregorius. Like, this is kind of like, I think it's actually handled fairly well when you realize it's like, oh, it's the same. His son is the promoter that he doesn't like, and that's why he's so angry at his son. And, Papa, why don't you enjoy this? And you're like, so this, like, I'm not sure if like he is like gangster per se who runs wrestling as his like legitimate business front. It's like Tony Soprano being running a Fed in the Northeast.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like a little bit, not like nothing too bad, like somewhat straight kind of stuff.
But probably other things, because he has no issues like putting out hits later on, and where they could start driving around and saying, "Hey, newsstand guy, there's a hit for 1,000 pounds on this guy. Kill him." It's like, wow. It's like no fucks to be given anymore. Of course, how do we get to that point? Well, we're almost there. There's a kind of a montage of Harry kind of like trying to find money to like front this operation. He goes to a guy who runs like the amputee racket, the people who are like panhandling that maybe are real or fake veterans. So he's got, I've got legs, I've got eyes, I've got stumps. And you're like, are you talking about fake legs, patches, stumps, or are you talking about people that you refer to as like parts? You're like, yeah, here's your sign, go out there and make some money. Like real low end crime stuff. We got Guggen the Forger, who only appears once, I believe. I like that. We have the lawyer that represents Christo, named Fergus Chilk, which is a good name. Which is a name I appreciate. It's very nice. Yeah, so everything seems to be going okay. Everything's going to work out for Harry, but so far it's a noir, RJ. And
what does that mean?
Means things take a dark turn. Everything starts turning against old Harry. He starts running into roadblocks. Krista doesn't want him to open up. You start finding out these like familial issues. It's also trying to set up a big match, and it's not going to happen. But he instigates it. He goes and fires up Strangler at a bar, and Strangler just takes the bait, chases him down to the gym that they just opened up, and there's a scrap, and Nick.
What happens?
Nick breaks his wrist.
Nicholas breaks his wrist?
Yeah, that's right. And then Gregorius puts Strangler through a clinic. And it's like these men are beating the shit out of each other. Hammer whip.
It's so good.
The sickening twist of the arms, putting on that bear hug. You've never seen a more believable bear hug. And it is like an interesting thing. So this is like 1950. And they're showing like wrestling in a particular way that's like complete crap in the beginning, where it's just like fat guy slamming into another guy, jumping off ropes, and it's hilarious. Yeah, and then there's this whole thing how like, well, wrestling wasn't exposed and like revealed to be not true until Vince McMahon had to admit it in like 1989, and of course, but then people kept pretending it was like real afterwards, like kayfabe, and it's like no. People knew it was bullshit for a long time, but I don't know. It's pretty amazing. So like this movie shows that.
Yeah, because this was 1950, and like because I was watching, I was like, this is exactly like, and the thing that I noticed is like the ref getting like put in between the two wrestlers and like the big show of it. I was like, this is still kind of the deal. So
this is the same.
Like,
this is the same shit. And then you get but then like, so what I really like about how Dassin shoots this scene, like the sequence of the real wrestling is like, fuck, this like looks so believable and looks like a real fight. But you're like, these guys are also fake fighting, and you're like, see, it's doable. You could like do this like Greco-Roman style and fake it, which is like an entire genre of wrestling in itself, shoot wrestling or whatever you want to call it. UWA was doing in the 90s before UFC was around. They were doing this like legit style wrestling, but it was all worked. But they made it look real, and this movie shows that like, well, it's edited and like beautifully shot, which wrestling isn't. You can win people over and make them convinced it's real, or like it's really happening, and it looks great, and it's like savage and brutal. And Gregorius wins, but in winning, his ticket just can't handle it no more. We basically kind of assume.
It says, "Close the window, my boy."
Yeah,
I'm cold.
So we get some father and son stuff, and fucking Harry is running. He is running.
Oh, he's out of there before you even know that he's gone.
Yeah, and you're like, where? Because you keep like, because the way the camera keeps you away from the fact that Harry's gone, it's really well laid out, and you're like, fuck, this Christo guy we've been told about all this time. He is like a guy not to be messed with, and you just like basically created a circumstance that killed my father, and that you might as well have just killed him yourself. So bad things are coming your way. I love how Mike Mazurki kind of like, as the Strangler, he just stops talking at this point, and he becomes silent, and then he just like, he's just a force, and you're like, oh fuck, that guy is like really like. He's
I like the recognition with him too, where he just like, he leaves, and then when you do see him again later, he's like, no one will say. Well, I'm doing this accent for everyone. No one will say that I killed Gregarious. He's like, he did it. And it's like, you're not like totally wrong, but like the circumstances where it's like, yeah, come on in and just drink some whiskey while my boys train. And it's like,
And like, basically like at this point, all these characters we've been introduced up to this point, they all are just turning their back on Harry. Like the walls are coming in on him. It's not going to work out well. And everyone's like, oh yeah, you can hang out at my place a little bit longer. Close the doors. Oh, you just hide upstairs. It's perfectly fine. But of course, everyone wants that $1,000. And they're like, well, it doesn't matter to me. $1,000 is $1,000. Can't trust anybody. I don't know. So yeah, a lot of man running away.
We get some running.
We get some running. And then then it kind of ends at the shipyard barge, I guess, and it kind of reminds you of Pickup on South Street a little bit. And then his girl there's actually a really well done like where his girl shows up, but it's framed in a way that you don't know who he's reacting to, Mary, and yes, but then it's her, and you're like, oh fuck, now he feels even worse about it. But we all get the ultimate payoff with a good old fashioned body dumping.
It's much appreciated too. I like how it's played so plainly.
It's matter of fact,
boom, and then it doesn't even to show anything else. It's he's dead.
No, off the Hammersmith Bridge. We don't know if he's like strangled him to death already and is just disposing of the body in the river, or if he's like choked him out, carried him up to the bridge, and tossed him in the plink into the Thames.
The one thing we can all agree on confidently is that he's dead.
Yeah. So apparently there is a different ending.
What?
So there's the American version, which is actually actually accurate to Dassin's vision, but then there's also the UK ending.
How is it different?
I don't know, actually. People just said it's like a happier ending.
Like he doesn't get thrown into the water?
I guess.
That's dumb.
Yeah.
I like the ending the way it is.
Exactly. Yeah. This is the one.
This is the way it's supposed to be.
The US cut.
Yeah, this is the way it's supposed to be.
No.
Yeah, don't give me no happy ending.
So I guess I should have said it earlier. So Night in the City, I actually own on DVD. It was one of those movies that I had a choice way back when. Because again, I like these genre dips from Criterion, and it was like, okay, this Jules Dassin guy sounds French. I'm like, well, I've got Night in the City or Thieves Highway. Which one should I buy? I could only buy one, and I was like, well, it's Night in the City. I mean, that sounds so noir. Thieves Highway, that could be anything. So I went with Night in the City. So I watched this movie many years ago, and also when I had heard back when about wrestling, I was like, hell yeah. And I'm like, who cares about apples? Said 2005 Jarrett. Oh, how wrong I was.
I know. You were a bad dude then. You're kind of a bad dude now, but your opinion has changed. So, I mean, you're kind of in the right.
That's right.
Going down the right way. Kind of. Ish. Hello?
Hello.
Oh, hi. I'm done talking.
Let's see here. So, in the UK cut, it runs 6 minutes longer and features a different beginning and ending. Harry isn't introduced trying to rob his girlfriend in the British version, and the finale is given a more romantic spin. Dassin declared the American version closer to his intentions. So I wonder if maybe at the end it's like Mary and Adam, like, embrace or something.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Probably. Because, I don't see a lot of details on it. I guess, like, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, when you said there was a different ending, I almost said, fuck you, get out of here.
And a completely different film score.
Ugh. Yeah, I don't want any part of that. I mean, maybe the score is better. I can't say that, but doubtful. I doubt it.
I will say that. So this movie came out when I guess Jules Dassin would have been accused of being a communist, and so I wonder if that might have changed the embracing of this movie at the time it came out, because apparently its lack of sympathetic characters was held against it. Good old Bosley Crowther of the New York Times complained of its pointlessness, its being a trashy yarn. And the best he has accomplished is a turgid pictorial grotesque. He tried to buff it with a very poor script and failed. The screenplay is without any real dramatic virtue, reason, or valid storyline. Little more than a melange of maggoty episodes having to do with the devious endeavors of a cheap London nightclub tout to corner the wrestling racket, an ambition in which he fails. And there's only one character in it for whom a decent, respectable person can give a hoot. I'm going to describe more things as maggoty.
You could say maggoty. I mean, are you going to use the like a hoot? You're going to say this was a real hoot?
Yeah, a hoot.
Or this was a real hoot. I would appreciate that.
Okay.
I think you're kind of a hoot. You know what I mean?
So yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of these Jules Dassin movies. I'm not sure which one I prefer of the two. I think the freshness of Thieves Highway definitely, and the tale of the apple trade just appeals. But Night in the City got a pretty amazing sequence of graps, which is, I think, greatly in shortage in the Criterion Collection. I mean, this is no holds barred or anything like that. It's got no Zeus. It's not even got Zeus in it. And as far as like wrestling movies, I mean, this is very wrestling adjacent. It's like barely in it. It's one of the better ones.
How does it stack up against Jefftown?
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about maggoty films.
Well, I wouldn't use that vernacular, but
Okay.
whatever you want to do. I'm with you, man. I think this movie is also pretty good.
Nice.
I'm actually the same page where it doesn't have the pop as the Fruit Vendors does, because that movie really lights you on fire, I think. This one though is very good as well, I think. I thought both of these movies were good watches. There's a few things in them where you're kind of like lost me a little bit. Like I like Fat Phil in this movie, but some of the sequence was with him, and it's like, I mean, like I like seeing him, but it's like the dynamic, I guess. But that's also a good part of the movie. The wrestling is good. I like Gregorius. He's a cool dude.
You know what? So I'm looking up Glenn Erickson's review from DVD Savant,
Okay.
where he's actually describing the movie in some depth, as far as like what the details are different, and as also included is the far softer English ending, which presents Mary and Adam as lovers consoling each other after Harry's untimely exit. Yeah. So that I predict.
I mean, that's
called it.
fine.
Oh, apparently that stuff was pretty shoehorned in. I guess this was like about getting Gene Tierney in this. She was in a bad way when this movie was getting made, so she was kind of like put into this.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
We can do without that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the wrestling's great. I like Gregorius. I just like the buildup of that story. Like the idea of this underground, or not even underground, but like this club of wrestling people. That's pretty cool. Again, like, see, I think these movies somewhat, like, it doesn't have a happy ending, but these movies really kind of make you like root for the bad guy in a sense, and it's like it's almost has that like nice guys finish last thing, which is it's like that's fine, I guess, but I don't know. What are you doing? I mean, I don't know anything about 1950s London, so maybe I'm completely out to lunch on this, Jarrett.
Well,
like I don't know if the streets were accurate or the
it was on location.
Yeah. Well, there's one scene that's actually really cool where it's one of the one of the goons driving around like telling everyone, it's like, get your eyes out for this guy, and the camera's in the back of the car, and I was like that would have been tough to do in 1950, like the size of cameras and shit.
Well, you can also tell like the quality of the pictures not as good as the rest of it, because like a lot of it is being shot on sets in whatever Sheffield studios or whatever. I just wanted to mention, because you were talking about rooting for the bad guy, and I was like, what, like get ready to root for the bad guy, like in Mel Gibson's Payback.
It's kind of like that.
That was the U.S. tagline, RJ. And
is that also? What's the tagline for Ready to Rumble?
Get ready to.
Get ready to.
Yeah.
Well, I could root for the bad guy all day long.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Night in the City is cool. I like it. It's got all the wrestling dudes are good. Christo is good. I like that they used real wrestlers, because you just get it. And I really like the body confidence of Gregorius. Like, because he's just an old guy, but he's like, I wear my Speedo. He's like, I am man.
Can you imagine like what his handshake was like?
Oh, that dude was crushing bones. I guarantee it.
Oh, you'd be fucked.
Like, could you imagine the damage that dude could do to a buffet?
I don't know. He probably eats pretty.
He's all
clean.
muscle.
Well, he's like that old body man.
Old man strength.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, old men do have like crazy strength.
Mm-hmm.
So old man strength. I loved his wrestling scene. You hate to see him go because he's so cute too. Like his whole thing is like they're like Gregorius, you can't be here. He's like, I trust him. He's my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I don't want anything bad to happen to this old man. But you know. So
RJ, to answer your question, Ready to Rumble's tagline: they're headed to the big time, face first.
That's pretty good. I like that.
David
I'm okay
Arquette's not in Night in the City. How do you feel about that?
I'm going to drop it down to probably a star rating because of that.
Right.
But no one will fault me for that, right? Right? Or maybe they will. Doesn't matter. Yeah, Night in the City is a good show. I like it, and I do like the exhaustion in the end, where he's like, "I've been running for hours. I can't run no more." And like in my mind, when they threw him in the water, he's just so exhausted. He's like, "I'm dead," and like doesn't even try to swim, basically. No. So
he looked pretty knocked out too. It looks like he got
that too.
He got goozled and then
in my mind, he
added to adjusted into the water.
Yeah. I like that. But yeah, these are good shows. I like them.
Good. I'm good. It sounds like you're turning into a noirsman, RJ.
I mean, I don't know if I ever wasn't. Was there noirs I didn't like? I mean, sometimes they don't work, but
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like you're gonna have to take a deep dive. We'll have to start up another podcast.
I'd like more noirs about fruit vendors, please.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's definitely ones about like oranges. How about oranges? Do you like?
I'll take that.
Cool. I could suggest one for you. But it's about fleeing countries by a director from who fled a country at one point for doing bad things. Who hates movies, RJ?
Bad
people. Dudes? Bad people that you don't want to see movies about. Boswell Crowther doesn't. But for Thieves Highway, we got a 1-star review from Brett McGuire.
It's a real name for sure.
Totes. The stock characters here are either too earnest, too cynical, or too much of a scumbag, depending on what type of stock character they are.
I mean, I don't know if that's totally fair, but this person's favorite movies are Casablanca, Once Upon a Time in the West, Moonlight, and In the Mood for Love. 1-star films include Kill List, Easy Rider, Whiplash.
What?
Thieves Highway. Hell or High Water, Jarrett's favorite film.
That's not true.
Oh, okay.
Don't you say that.
But those other ones, those are bad.
Okay.
Picks.
Next we've got Alfred Scott, 2 stars. Third on our 1949 triple feature is this melodrama about truckers trying to get golden delicious apples to market in San Francisco while also setting some old scores and falling in lust. Director Jules Dassin rocks lots of action and road scenes. Lee J. Cobb perfects his bluster as Mike Figlia, while Richard Conte as Nick Garcos seems a bit bipolar, freaking out at times and turning into a wallflower at others. His San Francisco girl, Valentina Cortez, calms him down, and she also orders him around. That's the review.
Oh, okay. Well, fellow Canadian, I mean, I might not agree with their ratings, but I appreciate some of the boldness of this. They only have 1 5-star film, and it's Blade Runner 2049. And then like there's some 1-star films like Carnival of Souls, and then
like the original.
Yeah.
Jeez. Interestingly enough, Alfred Scott also rated Night in the City and gave it 1.5 stars.
Okay.
And wrote, Harry Fabian tells everyone his latest scheme is the chance of a lifetime. He orders himself a huge trophy-like name plaque that announces he's managing director of a gym. And in the end, he gets told, you've got it all, but you're a dead man, Fabian. That about sums up the noir world, all right. The movie and Richard Widmark don't do it for me.
So I'm digging deeper into the reviews. You know this other Jules Dassin movie, Top Cappy?
Kind of. I know.
Is that a good film?
I don't know. It's like 1964 or something like that. I haven't seen it.
Alfred Scott gave it 1.5 stars. So
he's hating this. He hates this Dassin.
He hates him, but he gave Maltese Falcon 4.5.
Another thing to mention about Jules Dassin, apparently. So this is an adaptation of a book that Jules Dassin never read. He never read. He didn't have time. They had to write a script, and then he just wrote it. And then, like, the author was pissed. And he's like, he's like, yeah, he probably should be.
Yeah.
He's like, he was like, I never admitted this to anyone. Like, after, like, he was like this old sweet man. He was chased out of his country for his political beliefs. I like this movie even more. Yeah, and he's like, yeah, he seemed like really like almost upset. And then he also laughed. He's like, yeah, the writer was mad. I was like, yeah, I feel him.
I love it. That's how I would do it.
One more from Thieves Highway. August Wayant. Speaking of real names.
Yeah. What? Come on.
Wow. What a disappointment. The protagonist is a moron. The two idiots who follow him aren't funny, and his love interest was shallow and pointless. Also, Bob Dylan makes an appearance as the Italian femme fatale. Aww.
That's unfair to Bob Dylan. This person gave Roma 5 stars. They gave Shape of Water 5 stars. They gave other movies like Pink Flamingos and Annie Hall 5 stars, and like actual movies and things like that.
Okay.
Half stars to Happy Gilmore. Get fucked. Get out of here. That's not fair. You don't agree with that, do you?
No. Back to Night in the City. Derek Wood, 1.5 stars. I just couldn't get with Widmark's overwrought lead performance, which is a prime example of what I once heard aptly described as, "Look at me, Mom, acting." His hamming put me at a remove from the story, so aware was I at every single moment that I was watching acting as opposed to watching a character. I hung in for about 40 minutes, then hung around no more.
So what we have here, Jarrett, is a real LA guy, Derek Wood. Bio. To me, Letterboxd is a stark illustration of how few movies I see anymore, at least in comparison with my friends and acquaintances. Not really a big mystery why, though. I aged out of a target demographic a while back, and Hollywood is making fewer movies for people like me than ever, i.e. those no longer between 18 to 34, who were never into comic books. Nevertheless, I still enjoy a good movie as much as ever, and nearly a century into the medium, there are plenty of them out there.
I could hear the familiar click clack of the vape pen as he draws his pull against his teeth.
And he says, however, I still enjoy a good movie from time to time. Who amongst you wouldn't?
I feel like he's going to be checking his stonks soon.
He might be. Yeah. You might be. The only weird thing is I'm noticing people who hate both of these movies have been 5-star in Annie Hall. Just because Annie Hall's in our mind tonight, so strange.
One more. Yeah, boy.
That's a real name, sure.
2 stars. Same type of acting, line delivery, and music of like 95% of all American movies of that era. But I should get a boner. But I should get a boner for some reason. What? But I should.
Is that how we're ranking them?
But I should get a boner for some reason.
I mean, if
I guess
so.
they're like, why are people getting boners for this? Because I'm not. I mean, I guess there's like clearer ways one could write it. I'm disappointed in boy.
Okay, so favorite films are Seven, City of God, Children of Men, and Whiplash. But the thing that really stands out to me, Jarrett, is their bio. This profile is basically for me to keep track of movies I watched and that I want to watch. That's kind of the idea, man. That's kind of why this whole thing exists. I don't know. I hate to break it to you.
Hey, I'm going to the grocery store so I can buy groceries that I can take home with me.
And I would intend to eat afterwards. So yeah.
No promises on the eating.
No promises on that. I am.
That's
my
my missive that I leave for the kitchen.
Basically, for me to keep track of movies I watched and that I want to watch. So yeah. Yep. That's a good one.
Oh boy! Wow, really?
Yeah, boy.
Plumbing the depths. Plumbing the depths.
I hope they become a listener one day.
I hope so. Yeah, boy.
Be nice. We can get them in here on Decalogue.
We love you all. We all love you, Derek. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, sure.
We love you all.
Yep.
All our children. All our movie children.
Oh yeah, it's all good.
Any final words or thoughts?
No, good shows. Pretty good shows.
Good shows.
Good shows. Yep, I like them.
After the break. RJ's on the run. He's going to get accosted by an old man with big, strong old man strength. And he's going to get tossed into the old man right off the high level.
Old Man River?
No.
See, that's some inside baseball there, Jarrett.
Mm-hmm.
Old Man River.
That's right. You're going to go take that float.
Whew.
Whew.
Scary stuff.
Might even see a guy jerking off in the bushes.
Is that something you've seen down there?
I've heard.
You've heard?
It's very verite.
Cinema Verite? Cinema Verde?
Yeah, especially if you do it on your cell phone.
Holy cow. Well, that's it for me. I'm gonna use Letterboxd to log movies I've watched and that I want to watch.